In the summer of 1977, New York City went dark for 25 hours. Looters hit thousands of stores. But block after block of working-class homes came through the night untouched. The security industry learned something that summer it has spent decades trying to make you forget. The houses that stayed safe had no alarm at all. They had a barking dog, a gravel path, and a 50-cent trick sitting in a kitchen drawer. Number 14 on this list has turned away more burglars than any wired system ever sold. Number 3 costs almost nothing. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down. Number 20, the gravel perimeter. Long before anybody wired a doorbell to the internet, people made the ground itself do the work. A 3-foot border of pea gravel or crushed shell around the base of your house, under every window and along every walkway turns silent grass into an announcement. Nobody crosses gravel quietly. It grinds and shifts under a boot, no matter how careful the foot. In a blackout, when your cameras are dead and your motion floodlights have no juice, that gravel still works exactly the same as it did the day you laid it, because it runs on physics, not electricity. A couple of bags cost about $4 each at any hardware store, and a weekend of shoveling covers the whole footprint of a small house. Old farmhouses did this on purpose. The dooryard was gravel so you could hear a wagon, a stranger, or a son sneaking in past curfew. The sound carried straight through the walls to the bed. A break-in is a quiet crime. Anything that makes it loud is your friend. Gravel is the cheapest early warning system ever invented, and it never needs a battery. Number 19, motion sensor solar lights. Here is the trick that turns a power outage into a non-event. A cheap solar motion light charges itself all day off the sun and hangs onto that charge in a small internal battery. So when the grid dies at 9 o'clock, it does not care one bit. A 4-pack runs about $25. You screw them above the garage, over the back door, at the corner of the house where the fence meets the wall, the dark seam nobody watches. When something crosses the beam, they snap on hard and bright. A burglar's entire job depends on darkness and on not being seen. Light strips both away in a quarter of a second. What makes these devastating during a blackout is the contrast. The whole street is pitch black. Every wired floodlight in the neighborhood is dead. And then one house lights up like a stage the instant someone steps into the yard. That house is not the one they pick. They move on to the dark one. You spent $25. The alarm company wanted $600 plus a monthly bill for less. Number 18, dollar store door and window alarms. Walk into any dollar store and you will find little magnetic alarms hanging on a peg for $1.25. 2 pieces, a sensor and a magnet, a strip of adhesive on the back of each. You stick one half on the door, the other on the frame, lined up so they touch when the door is closed. Open the door, and the magnet separates and the thing screams at about 100 decibels off a couple of watch batteries. That is it. No wiring, no Wi-Fi, no subscription, no keypad, nothing to fail when the power goes out. Put one on every ground floor window and both exterior doors, and you have covered the entire skin of your house for under $15. Burglars are not looking for a fight. They are looking for quiet. A shriek in a dark, silent house at 2 in the morning is the last thing on earth they want, because now the whole household is awake and the neighbors are looking out their windows. These tiny plastic alarms do the exact job the $400 panel does, minus the part where you pay every month for the privilege. Number 17, the dowel and the sliding door track. Sliding glass doors are the softest spot in most American homes, and a $2 piece of wood fixes them better than a lock. You cut a broom handle or a length of dowel to fit snug in the bottom track of the door, wedged tight against the closed panel. Now the door physically cannot slide open, even if someone jimmies the flimsy factory latch, which takes about 4 seconds with a screwdriver. A determined push just drives the panel into the wood and stops. Old-timers used a cut-down mop handle and never gave it another thought. The genius of it is that it does not care about power, code, batteries, or signal. It is a stick. It works in a blackout, in a brownout, in a hurricane, forever. Meanwhile, the sliding door sensor on a fancy system needs the panel to hum, the hub to be online, and the whole grid to be up to do anything at all. A 10-foot dowel costs about $3 and protects the one door burglars love most. Cut 2 while you are at it and do the windows. Number 16. The door security bar. For the front and back door, the poor man's answer to a battering shoulder is a steel brace bar. One end wedges under the door handle or against the door itself. The other end plants against the floor at an angle. So the whole force of a kick transfers down into the ground instead of into the frame. You can buy an adjustable one for about $20, or make one from a 2x4 and a couple of blocks if you are handy. A standard exterior door frame fails at the strike plate under one good kick. The brace bar means that kick has to fight the entire floor, and the floor always wins. This is the trick that buys you time, and time is the only thing that matters in a break-in, because time is what lets you wake up, get to a phone, and get your family to a safe spot. When the power is out, and the alarm is dead, and there is no siren coming, that bar under the handle is doing the work the whole security company promised to do and cannot. Number 15. Thorny landscaping under the windows. Nature made the best window bars, and they are cheap and legal and pretty. Plant something with serious thorns under every ground floor window. Barberry, holly, pyracantha, climbing roses, or a good old crown of thorns hedge. A burglar's whole plan is to slip up to a dark window and pop it. He is not going to wade through a wall of inch-long spikes to do it, not quietly, and not without leaving skin and thread behind. Landscapers and old estate gardeners knew this 100 years ago, which is why so many big houses had rose hedges under the low windows. A few starter shrubs run $5 to $10 each and grow into a permanent defense that needs no power, no maintenance beyond a trim, and never turns off. During a blackout, it is exactly as effective as it is on a sunny afternoon, because a thorn bush does not know the grid went down. You planted a fortress wall, and it looks like a garden. Number 14. Dummy cameras and the signs. Here is the one the survey numbers back up harder than anything else on this list. When researchers actually interviewed convicted burglars and asked what turned them away from a house, the answer at the top was not alarms, and it was not locks. It was the feeling of being watched and the risk of being known. A $10 dummy camera with a little blinking red LED screwed up under the eave, where it is obvious, does most of that work for a fraction of the cost of the real thing. Pair it with a "Beware of Dog" sign on the gate and a "This property is monitored" sticker on the window, and a burglar walking the block in the dark reads all of that in 2 seconds and keeps walking to the easier house. He does not know the camera is hollow. He does not know there is no dog. He only knows he is not going to be the one who finds out. This is pure psychology, and it is the reason a working-class family with $40 of props can turn away the same guy who would breeze past a $6,000 system, because the system he cannot see does not scare him, and the eye under the eave does. First, pattern break. Here is what the security industry does not put in the brochure. Every wired alarm, every camera, every smart lock they sell you shares one fatal weakness, and it is the reason all of it goes quiet the night you need it most. It runs on electricity and it runs on signal. Cut the power and cut the internet, which any competent burglar can do at the meter and the box on the side of your house in under a minute, and the whole expensive nervous system of your home goes dark and dumb. The backup battery buys you a few hours if you are lucky, and the cell backup costs extra, and half the time was never activated. But a gravel path does not have a power cord. A dog does not need Wi-Fi. A stick in a door track cannot be unplugged. That is the whole secret of this list. The break-in that beats a modern system is the break-in that starts with the lights going out, and everything on this list was built to work best in exactly that darkness. Our grandparents defended their homes through blackouts, brownouts, and blizzards with tricks that cost pennies, and those tricks are the ones still standing when the grid falls over. Number 13, the reinforced strike plate. This is the $2 upgrade that beats a deadbolt you paid $60 for. Go look at your front door. The deadbolt slides into a little metal plate on the frame, and that plate is almost always held by two flimsy 3/4-inch screws that bite into nothing but soft pine trim. One kick splits the wood and the whole thing flies open, deadbolt and all. The fix is to swap those short screws for 3-inch screws that drive all the way past the trim and deep into the wall stud behind it. Now, a kick is fighting the structural framing of your house instead of a strip of decorative wood. A box of 3-inch screws costs about $4, and the swap takes 10 minutes with a screwdriver. Better yet, spend $8 on a reinforced strike plate with 4 holes. This single move upgrades the weakest link in the entire door, the part every burglar targets first, and it works forever with no power. You already own the expensive lock. This is the trick that finally makes it do its job. Number 12. Fishing line and bells. This one comes straight out of the trenches, literally. Soldiers strung tripwires with cans and bells to hear an enemy crossing in the dark, and it works just as well across a hallway. Run a length of clear fishing line, the 10-pound test, about ankle height across the top of a stairwell or the mouth of a hallway that leads to the bedrooms, and tie a little cluster of jingle bells to it, or a string of empty soda cans. An intruder moving through a pitch-black house he does not know is going to walk right into it, and the bells go off in the dead silence and wake the whole family. It costs about $3 for a spool of line and a bag of bells. The beauty of it in a blackout is that the burglar cannot see the line, has no map of your house, and is already nervous, and now something is jingling in the dark, and he has no idea what tripped it or who is coming. It is the oldest alarm on Earth, and it has never needed a single volt. Number 11, the fake TV. There is a little device the size of a coffee mug that costs about $15 and does one job. It flickers a bank of colored LED lights in the exact rhythm and color shift of a television. So from the street, through the curtains, it looks precisely like somebody is home watching television in a dark living room. Some of them run on a rechargeable battery or a handful of D cells, which means they keep flickering through a blackout when the real televisions on the whole street have gone black. Think about what that does. The power is out across the neighborhood, every window is dark, and a burglar cruising for an empty house sees one living room glowing with that familiar blue television wash. He reads it as a wide-awake family sitting up in the dark, and he crosses that house right off the list. An empty house is the target. The whole game is looking not empty. For $15, you put a phantom family in the front room that never leaves, never sleeps, and never loses power. Number 10, the wireless driveway alarm. This is the poor man's perimeter, and it runs on batteries, so a blackout means nothing to it. You get a little motion sensor and a chime unit for about $25 to $30. The sensor mounts on a post, a tree, or the corner of the garage facing the driveway or the walk up to the house, and the chime sits inside on your nightstand. Anything that comes up the drive trips the sensor, and a soft ding goes off by your bed. Now you have a 30-foot head start on anybody approaching in total darkness, while the rest of the street sleeps blind. Rural folks have run these for decades to know when somebody turns off the county road onto their land long before headlights ever reach the house. The batteries last months. When the grid is down and your doorbell camera is a dead plastic eye, this thing is still quietly watching the one path a stranger has to take to reach your door, and it whispers a warning straight into your bedroom. Second pattern break. Let us talk about how a burglar actually thinks, because once you understand it, this whole list clicks into place. He is not a movie villain. He is a nervous man who wants 3 things: easy, quiet, and fast. He wants to be in and out in under 10 minutes, and he will abandon a house the second any one of those 3 breaks. He does not want to fight your door. He does not want to trip on a wire in the dark. He does not want a light to snap on or a dog to bark or a stick to jam a door. He expected to slide. Every single trick on this list is designed to attack easy, quiet, or fast. That is why they work when a fancy system does not. The system tries to catch him after he is already inside, and half the time it is dead anyway. These tricks make him give up before he ever crosses the threshold, because he looks at your gravel, your thorns, your flickering TV, your blinking eye under the eave, and he adds up the risk and the noise and the time, and he chooses the neighbor's house instead. You do not have to beat every burglar in the world. You just have to be a harder target than the house next door, and that costs about $100 total. Number 9, the air horn by the bed. When you have 30 seconds and something is wrong, the single most powerful thing a poor man can hold is a canister of pure noise. A marine air horn, the kind boaters keep, costs about $10 and puts out a blast you can hear a mile away. Keep one on the nightstand next to a whistle. If someone is in your house in the dark, you do not need to confront him. You lean out the bedroom door and lay on that horn, and the sound is so violent and so loud that it does three things at once. It shatters the quiet the burglar needs. It announces to every neighbor for blocks that something is happening at your address, and it tells the intruder in no uncertain terms that this house is awake and screaming. Most of them run at the first blast. It works with zero power. It works in a blackout. It needs no aim and no strength and no training, and a grandmother with arthritis can use it as well as anybody. $10 of compressed air does what a siren system charges you a monthly fee to maybe do. Number 8. Window security film. Your windows are glass, and glass is the easy way in. Security film is a clear, tough plastic layer you squeegee onto the inside of the pane, and it costs about $30 for enough to do the vulnerable ground floor windows. It does not make the glass unbreakable. What it does is hold the shattered glass together in the frame when someone tries to smash through. Instead of a clean break and a quick reach-in, the burglar hits it and the pane just spiders and sags and stays put, and he has to keep hammering at it loud over and over, which is exactly the noisy, slow, ugly scene he came to avoid. Every extra hit is another chance to wake somebody in another second he does not have. It is completely passive, needs no power, and works the same in a blackout as in daylight because it is just tough film doing tough film things. Banks and storefronts use the industrial version. You can put the home version on with a spray bottle and a credit card on a Saturday afternoon. Number 7. Securing the hinges. Here is one almost nobody thinks about. If your front door swings outward, or on some older doors, even if it does not, the hinge pins are on the outside, and a burglar can tap them out with a screwdriver and lift the whole door off, deadbolt or no deadbolt. The fix costs almost nothing. You drive a screw or a headless bolt part way into the hinge on the door side and drill a matching hole in the frame side, so when the door closes, that stud drops into the hole and pins the door in place even if the hinge pins are gone. Or you buy security hinges with a fixed set screw for a few dollars a pair. 10 minutes of work seals a hole most people never knew they had. It is mechanical, permanent, and blackout proof, and it closes off a way in that makes your expensive lock completely beside the point because a locked door is worthless if a man can just lift it out of the wall. Number 6. The corded landline. When the power dies and the internet goes with it, every cordless phone in your house is a paperweight, and your cell tower may be jammed or dead too, especially in a real emergency when everybody is dialing at once. An old-fashioned corded telephone, the kind that plugs straight into the wall jack, draws its tiny bit of power from the phone line itself, which runs on its own separate system that often stays alive when the electric grid is flat on its back. You can find one at a thrift store for $5. Keep it in a closet and plug it in when the lights go out. If a copper line still runs to your house, that phone will get a dial tone when nothing else in the neighborhood can call for help. In a break-in during a blackout, being able to reach a 911 dispatcher is the whole ballgame. And this dusty relic does it when your smart home is a brick. Our parents never questioned having a phone that worked when the power did not. We traded it away for convenience and called it progress. Third pattern break. Here is the reality nobody wants to sit with. When the grid goes down, you are on your own for a while, and everybody knows it, including the people who mean you harm. Response times stretch. Dispatch is flooded. The cameras are blind. The alarms are silent. The smart locks default open or jam shut. And the monthly service you have been paying for is exactly as useful as the dead router it depends on. This is the moment the whole modern security industry was never really built for, and it is the exact moment the tricks on this list come into their own. Everything here was designed by people who lived through times when help was not coming quickly and the power was never guaranteed. They did not defend their homes with signals and subscriptions. They defended them with wood, gravel, thorns, noise, dogs, and each other. The deepest truth of home defense is that layers beat gadgets. One clever trick can be beaten. 10 cheap tricks stacked on top of each other, none of them needing power, turn your ordinary house into the single hardest target on a dark street, and hard targets get skipped. Number 5. The lived-in look in a blackout. An empty-looking house is a magnet, and in a blackout every house looks empty, which is exactly the burglar's dream. Your job is to be the one that does not. During a normal night, you do this with a couple of cheap outlet timers, $3 each, that click a lamp and a radio on and off on a schedule so the house breathes like someone lives there. In a blackout, you do it with battery power. A single battery lantern set on a timer or just left glowing low in a back room. A battery radio left murmuring talk voices near a window. A flashlight moving from room to room early in the evening so a watcher sees the house is occupied and moving. The burglar wants stillness and dark and certainty that nobody is home. You take that certainty away for a few dollars in batteries. He cannot tell whether that voice by the window is a radio or a wide-awake man on the phone. And he is not going to risk his freedom to find out. Uncertainty is a weapon, and it is nearly free. Number 4, the safe room. Every home should have one room that is the fallback, and setting it up costs almost nothing. Pick an interior room with a solid core door, usually a main bedroom. Swap a hollow door for a solid one if you have to, $40 at the salvage yard, and put a real deadbolt or a slide bolt on the inside. Inside that room, you keep the things that matter in the dark: a charged flashlight, the corded phone, or a charged cell, the air horn, and a way out or a window. The whole point is retreat, not confrontation. If someone is in the house, you do not go clear the house like a movie hero. You get everyone into that room, throw the bolt, put the solid door between your family and the threat, and call for help while you make all the noise in the world. That locked interior door buys minutes, and minutes are everything. It runs on no power at all. A working-class family can build this out of a good door, a $10 bolt, and a shelf of basics, and it does the one job that actually keeps people alive, which is putting a locked barrier between your kids and a stranger in the dark. Number 3, the dog. There is a reason the beware of dog sign scares burglars, even when the dog is imaginary. And it is because the real thing is the single most effective home defense tool humans have ever had. And it predates every alarm on Earth by 10,000 years. A dog does not need power. A dog does not need Wi-Fi. A dog hears the gravel, smells the stranger at the fence, and senses the wrongness in the dark long before any sensor ever could. And then it does the one thing burglars fear most. It makes noise, and it makes the house unpredictable. Ask the people who interview burglars, and they will tell you a barking dog turns them away more reliably than almost anything, because a dog cannot be unplugged, cannot be cut at the meter, and cannot be talked out of caring. It does not have to be a guard dog. A little terrier that yaps its head off does the job as well as a mastiff, because all the burglar needs to hear is that this house has a set of ears and a voice that never sleeps and never loses power. In a blackout, when every wired eye on the street has gone dark, the dog is still awake, still listening, still the oldest and best alarm system money never had to buy. Number 2, home field advantage. This is the trick that costs nothing and beats everything, and it is simply this: know your own house in the dark better than anyone alive. When the power is out, an intruder is stumbling blind through a strange floor plan, and you can move through your home with your eyes closed. You know which stair creaks and which one is silent. You know the doorway in the black hallway, the corner of the dresser, the way the kitchen opens. You know where the flashlight is without looking, and where the exits are without thinking. Practice it. Walk your house at night with the lights off until you can move through it in total darkness, without a sound and without a stumble. That knowledge is the great equalizer, because the darkness that terrifies the man breaking in is the same darkness you own completely. He is lost in your world. You are home. Every general who ever won a fight knew that the ground you know beats the ground you do not, and your house is ground you have known your whole life. It runs on nothing, it cannot be stolen or unplugged, and it turns the very blackout the burglar was counting on into the thing that traps him. Number 1, your neighbors. At the very top of this list is the security system that has protected human beings since the first village. And it does not plug into anything. It is the people next door. A burglar's greatest fear is not your lock or your camera. It is being seen and being known. And a street full of neighbors who watch out for each other is a street where he is always seen and always known. The house that gets robbed is the house on the block where nobody talks, where nobody would notice a strange van in the driveway, where a broken window could sit for a day before anyone looked twice. The house that stays safe is the one whose neighbor has the spare key, keeps an eye on the place when the family travels, and calls the second something looks wrong. In a blackout, this is worth more than everything else on this list combined, because when the grid is down and the alarms are dead and help is slow, the man 3 doors down with a flashlight and a phone is the fastest response you will ever have. It costs nothing but a wave over the fence, a name remembered, a plate of something at the holidays. Back in 1977, the blocks that came through the dark were not the ones with the best locks. They were the ones where people sat out on the stoop and knew each other's kids. The neighborhood was the security system. It still is. That is the one thing no company can sell you and no blackout can switch off. Here is my challenge. Pick one this week, just one. Lay the gravel, cut the dowel, hang the dollar store alarm, or walk over and finally learn your neighbor's name. Then come back and tell me which one you did, because I put a stick in my own sliding door the day I wrote this, and I have not thought about that door since. Drop the trick you are going to try in the comments. I want to know if the dog gets more love than the gravel path, because none of this was ever about fancy gear. It was about being harder to reach than the house next door, and our grandparents knew how to do that for pennies. They just never wrote it down.